Coming to you from the Carwine Auditorium in the Milgard School of Business at the Tacoma campus of the University of Washington, I'm Stan Emmert. So Nancy Harris, from the Milgard Initiative on Women and Innovation Board, what does it take to be a successful financial advisor?
Stan, thank you for asking me that. I'm passionate about encouraging women to be in this profession. Historically, it's been a man's world as a financial advisor, but as the industry has shifted some from transaction to relationship, women tend to do really well in this business, and what it requires most is good listening skills, communication skills, and the ability to build trusting relationships.
So is there a difference in the business between the way men approach it and the way women approach it?
Well, I don't want to get myself in trouble about that, but traditionally, men have approached this industry more transactionally based. That has shifted, but traditionally women tend to be more relationship builders, nurturers.
When you say transaction versus relationship, just for those who aren't familiar with those terms, because those are kind of terms of art in your industry, what does that mean?
I would call a transaction business what we used to say was a stockbroker. So a traditional stockbroker, someone who calls you up and says, buy this, sell this, buy this, sell this. And by relationship business, I mean more of a planning platform and comprehensive platform. So we look at building wealth, obviously, but also protecting that wealth. Primarily, it's about a trusting relationship where we provide clients peace of mind.
You grew up in a man's business then, didn't you?
I did, I certainly did.
How'd you overcome?
Well, it was particularly challenging because I was in Northwest Montana, and being a Berkeley girl, Berkeley graduate, heading to Montana to be in this male-dominated industry was particularly challenging for me. And I guess I built good relationships with my peers, men primarily, that were supportive of my approach to financial planning, and I just stuck with it, honestly. I also sought out some mentors. They were very significant for me. And honestly, most of my mentors were men because they were the ones that had most experience. But I've looked for mentors in other industries as well.
I would think that in your industry, in financial advising, that trust is a huge deal. How did you get people to trust you?
I don't know if I have I don't really have a game plan for that. I think I just show up open-hearted and try and share my experience, provide some expertise. I really approach it as that I'm teaching clients and bringing them along, and I think that helps to build trust.
You are involved in the Women's Influence Network, and there's a great statement in there. It says, you look for thought leaders who are passionately committed to paying it forward. Is that you?
I hope so. I believe so. I loved that movie, Pay It Forward. It made so much sense to me to give without necessarily receiving any kind of credit in return, to kind of pay it forward. I strive for that in my life, not just in my business, but in my life. My husband calls me a manifestor, that I see a need, what I see as a need or an opportunity, and I like to build that and manifest that into something that is beneficial to the community.
And and in addition to the Women's Influence Network, you're also involved in other community activities, such as?
Such as the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation. I actually helped build a community foundation in Flathead Valley, Montana, where I lived for several years. So the community foundations connect donors with need in the community. I believe strongly in what they do there. And on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, promoting business in the South Sound.
And you're on the board of the Milgard Initiative on Women and Innovation.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because again, passion drives me. I'm passionate about empowering women and girls about money. Money is an important part of our culture, and historically, women have not been decision makers or managers of wealth. Now that's changing some, but I want to be part of that change. I want to be part of that change.
You had barriers that you had to overcome as you became successful in financial advising. What barriers do you see that young women have today?
I think the biggest barrier is that people, but women in general have not been educated on money issues. I mean, I see college graduates who are working in successful positions in Seattle. My son is one of them, who they don't know what a Roth IRA is. So that lack of education in our school systems, and if they don't hear it from their family, which often they don't, if we're not educated, if we don't understand the language of money, I've done some workshops on that, the language of money, then how do we participate? We can't even ask the right questions. So I think education is a huge part of it. And then that trust building. Do you have a relationship with someone that you can trust? We're bombarded on the internet with information. I think more and more people are moving back, even millennials are moving back to wanting some kind of relationship to sift through that information.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that it used to be a man's world, and now it's not.
Definitely.
But women still have barriers to overcome because there's so many people that it's easier for them to push a button, even though they don't have to analyze what they just did.
Well, that's a good point. I think there's a certain vulnerability about opening up about what you don't know. So there's a certain leap of faith with that too. Am I really going to expose, especially I'm a successful college graduate or professional woman, do I want other people to know what I don't know? So one thing that I do, I mentioned earlier, is I do seminars, and there are a lot of financial seminars out there. People even buy you dinner. So, take some time, go to some of these, get yourself educated a little bit, and then be willing to take the risk to ask questions.
There's young women out there who are looking and they're saying, okay, do I go to the Milgard School of Business because is there something special for me? And it sounds like the Milgard Initiative on Women in Innovation might be that something special, is it?
I agree with you, absolutely. And part of this Women's Influence Network, we touched on that, and part of my interest in the Milgard Initiative, Women in Innovation, is bringing some mentoring opportunities to Milgard School of Business. That's something that I've talked with Howard Smith and Sally Deck about. I've got a group, 20 professional women who want to pay it forward. Use us. We're willing to donate our time, our energy, our expertise. Come to the Milgard School of Business. And for young women, and also women that aren't so young anymore, that are starting to open into a new career.
All right, so a young woman says, okay, Ms. Harris, I'll take you up on that. What are you going to tell me?
Believe in yourself. Find relationships that help build up who you are. Be a student of history. That's how I started in this business. I was a social welfare major. I did not know what a stock and a bond was when I started 21 years ago. But I became a student of the history of the market, read some great books, wasn't afraid to ask questions, and then just stuck with it. That perseverance was really important.
So I got to ask you this. Was there ever a time during that transition from social welfare to financial advising that you said, man, I just can't do this, I'm just going to give it to the men, they can have it?
About every other year. I'm stubborn, and I don't feel like I'm more gifted than anyone else or more hardworking than anyone else, but I have this stick-to-itiveness, which comes from my background. So I just stick with it. And in addition to that, I love what I do. I love watching the results of the work that I do.
So look ahead a few years. The Milgard Initiative on Women in Innovation has been a part of your life. What do you think that women who get to interact with you are going to be doing in those 5 years with the education that you're going to help bring them?
See, the first 5 years in our industry is the hardest. So we call it survive for 5 years, and 5 years on you thrive. So I think there's some hand-holding that will be happening along the way, some being a sounding board, frustrated about this, what do I do about this? And then I see successful women in this business. In our office in Tacoma, we have 7 financial advisors, 4 of them are women. That's awesome. That rocks it. That's not an industry average. So we want to continue to encourage women and, frankly, people of color. It's still a white male industry, but we're moving the needle on that. Women who have relationship to depend on and expertise to learn from, I'm sure we'll be more successful in this industry. And this is a great industry. It's great for having a family. I was a single mom for a while in this industry. flexible schedule, unlimited income, but it's tough too.
All right, so Nancy, 5 years from now, we're sitting right here again, and you've got 5 years worth of mentoring in the Milgard Initiative on Women in Innovation. How'd you do?
Oh, my dream is that there will be many lives that have changed. So as we can mentor and work with women that are interested in this profession and getting started, support them, that they're feeling success and seeing success in their lives, flexible schedules, good income, they do work that matters, and then that has the ripple effect. Because if they're taking care of their clients and they're building healthy relationships, then their clients are going to have that part of their lives in a really healthy place. So that ripple effect is what I see, changing lives.
Nancy Harris, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks, Dan.